Hey everyone, it was a great pleasure seeing you at the PLSS meeting on Monday, and this is a follow-up to the information I shared with you. So welcome to the Vetting Resources Kickoff con el Dr. Edward Gonzalez. So our agenda for this video, number 1, it's a rubric overview. Number 2, using the rubric. Number 3, vetting lessons from the spreadsheet. And then number 4, reaching out for support. So let's hop right into the rubric now. The first page is an overview of the rubric. It gives you the purpose and the process. This is where we tell them what this rubric is, what this rubric isn't, and then how we went about creating this rubric and for what purpose. Now the next page is the actual rubric, and I'm going to zoom into this so that we can start covering this with a little bit more detail. So the first thing you're going to notice is that this is a single column rubric, and we went away from the 3-column rubric that we had before. You're also going to notice that we're not keeping score with this rubric. The way that this works is, it's simply put, there is an areas for improvement. That's where we are going to add suggestions and feedback that we have for the lesson and why it did not pass. And then on the right hand side, there's going to be evidence of exceeding criteria. And this is going to also be important because when you submit your vetting survey, whatever you put on evidence of exceeding criteria is going to be examples that we come and look at as potential exemplars to share with future vetters or people who are uploading lessons. Now let's look at the criteria and how it works. In each section, you're going to see an italicized text that tells you kind of what it is, the big picture of what it is that we're looking for, the concept that we're trying to get at. And then the header is going to tell you the specific component that is required to be met. Now, the bullets tell us what it is that the lesson can include to achieve what is being asked for in the header. So let's go ahead and look at that first section. It says, this lesson shows evidence of valuing outside learning. And there are opportunities to engage or encourage students' prior knowledge, students' social cultural capital or funds of knowledge, or learning that took place outside of the classroom. In order to meet that section, they need to have at least one of those bullets met. If this example has evidence that exceeds that criteria, that's where you would go ahead and place that on the right-hand side column, or give the feedback there on the right-hand side of the column. And on the left-hand side, if there's an area of improvement, meaning that maybe that bullet point is there, but it doesn't quite meet the definition that we're looking for or the example that we're looking for, that's where you would add the areas of improvement. Or if it just completely misses that section. Now let's look at the second section. It says the lesson content provides opportunities for students to engage in multiple ways. And so what does that look like? If you look at the first heading, it says content and delivery is differentiated. The lesson incorporates multiple learning styles, builds on students' strengths and interests. It has to meet at least one of those bullets. You look at the next one. The next one says content is scaffolded for students with exceptionalities. The lesson incorporates integrated and or designated ELD strategies, incorporates supports for students with disabilities. It needs to include at least one of those bullets. And then finally, the third one says there is evidence of authentic real-world application. Content is aligned to grade level content standards. It needs to meet one of those 2 bullets. So for this person, or for the person who submits a lesson, it needs to have all 3 of those headings, and those headings are satisfied with one of the bullets that is underneath it. If you go down to the next section, you see that it follows along in the same way, meaning that for this lesson to pass the vetting process, it needs to meet each heading along with the bullets that are underneath that heading. It doesn't have to meet both bullets, it just has to meet one bullet. So if we look at the first one there, it says students are active agents in their own learning. The lesson provides opportunities for students to take ownership of various elements of their opportunity through choice and amplified student voice, or outlines transparent measures of success so students can reflect and make decisions. This header does not require both bullets, it just requires one. Now the next page highlights examples and practices that would deem a lesson to be high quality. I'm not going to read through this section, but definitely check it out. And these final 2 pages are very important because they're going to help clarify many of the items for you. So I'm going to zoom into these 2 pages and break them down. So this page here shows observable teacher moves. So if you have a question and you're wondering, well, what exactly does that look like in the classroom? On the left-hand side column, it says criteria. Those are the exact same criteria that you see in the rubric. On the right-hand side column, you see observable teacher moves. So if you look on the left first, it says there are opportunities to engage or encourage students' prior knowledge, students' socio-cultural capital or funds of knowledge, learning that took place outside of the classroom. So what exactly does that look like? Well, an observable teacher move from that type of lesson would show use of a text that is modern, diverse, or relevant to students. Text or a topic is situated within or directly transferable to the community context. Now, the observable teacher moves are only the ones that we've identified. There could potentially be other observable teacher moves. The last page is very similar, except it doesn't look at it from the angle of observable teacher moves, but the observable student behaviors. So again, looking at the criteria on the left, there are opportunities to engage or encourage. Then it has the bullets. If you look at observable student behaviors, it says students can make connections to learning that took place outside the classroom. Hey, this reminds me of. Now, these again are just examples. So if you're going through the criteria and you're wondering, well, how exactly does this engage students' prior knowledge? You can come to these last 2 pages and you can either identify, oh, well, this lesson plan calls for these teacher moves, which means that it would satisfy the criteria, or this lesson plan would definitely lead to these students' behaviors, which would also satisfy the criteria. So where are you actually going to get the lessons? Now, you're all going to get access to this spreadsheet, and you're going to notice on the bottom it has humanities, STEAM, and CTE. All the lessons that are going to be listed on the spreadsheet are going to be the lessons that need to be completed by your department over the next 3-week period. If you click on a specific lesson, it will take you directly to it, and then it's going to give you access to the lesson. So this is the exact lesson that you would then go on and vet. There's going to be a couple pieces of information that are required. It's going to require that you submit the name of the person who developed the lesson. It's also going to be required that you submit the URL to the lesson. That is going to be very important. And where exactly do you submit it? Well, first of all, when you vet the lesson, you're going to go ahead and put that you did it already. This is the link to the rubric. You're not required to print it out, although that is helpful. But you're going to be submitting them here. And this is the Google Form link. And the Google Form link includes the following information. An overview at the top. You're going to need to include your last name, your first name. You're going to share the name of the educator who submitted the lesson. You're going to share the link to the lesson. You're going to tell us the appropriate grade levels or other, the appropriate subject or subjects or other. Is this a high quality instructional material? Meaning, does it pass your vetting? Yes or no? And then here in the rationale, you're going to give us your areas of improvement. That's the left-hand side column. Or you're going to tell us evidence exceeding criteria. And again, remember, this is equally as important because this is where we're going to start curating the resources that we'll be able to share with other people who are submitting lessons. All right, so thank you for viewing all the information. As you begin vetting resources, I highly suggest you work through your initial ones in groups of 2 or even 3 so that you can calibrate or norm how you are going through the process. And if you have any questions, definitely reach out to Sherry or to myself so we can make sure that we support you through this first period. And then also, please make sure that you keep any suggestions or recommendations with you, because we are going to be taking feedback after our first 3-week period of vetting lessons. And I hope that you see that we do value your feedback and we take it seriously. Because the rubric that you are looking at now is significantly different, and it has been guided through all the information that you gave us in our first initial meeting. So thank you very much for all the support and the work, and reach out if you have any questions.
Eddie, how many times do I have to tell you this is Kyle's desk?
I told you, it is no longer Eddie, it is Edouard. And this desk was my first love.
Come on, get